beginner self haircut, only using 3 guards, okay? So I'm going to be starting off with the number 1 guard, lever open, and then for the second guideline, I'm going to be using the 1.5 guard, lever open, and then for the third guideline, the number 2 guard, lever open, all right? So I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible, going from 1 to 1.5 to 2 with the lever open in all 3 positions, okay? And then after that, I will use my thinning shear over comb, okay? Just to blend in everything by the part line. And then after that, when we're just about finished with the haircut, I'm gonna go in and use some trimmers and give myself a nice lineup, as well as clean up my facial hair, okay? So I'm going to show you guys all of that in this video, just so you guys can see the entire process, all right? I got a wolf on my face and some hair that needs cleaning up, okay? Especially by the hairline. So let's go right into it. I got these Suprint these Suprint guards on my Chemi clippers, all right? This is the number 1 guard. Lever is open, okay? And for the first guideline, I'm gonna go right about to the corner of my eyebrow. So I'm gonna stop right about here, going straight back. Once I hit my ear, I'm gonna start to drop it and angle it a little bit toward the back, and then have it I'm gonna have it stop right at the occipital ridge on the back of my head. So that's the kind of shape that I'm gonna go for this self haircut, all right? So let's get started right now. Okay. Not a whole lot is coming off, but you can still see there's like a 1/4 of an inch coming off. Let's just brush that off real quick. Let's continue. All right, I'm just making sure I'm hitting the same spot multiple times so that I don't miss any hairs. Let's pull my ear down. All right, let's rotate the mirror just a little bit more inward, right? And then let's come right up to the vanity, and now I can see the entire thing over here. The guideline's a little faint, but I can see it right in here. Notice how I have the pencil position, right? Notice how I'm holding the clippers in my hands. All right, let's go against the grain right in here. All right, let's go horizontally against the grain. All right, let's brush off my head, brush off my shirt, brush off the clippers. Okay, and let's sweep it all inside the sink. Perfect. All right. Let me just double check, make sure that the line was okay. All right, so it's right in here. Okay. Now let's do the same exact thing on the left side. And again, let's look at ourselves in the mirror, make sure that we're hitting the same exact spot, right? We're going up to the same exact point so that both sides are the same and one side isn't higher than the other. And then let's put the ear down. Yeah. Let's go toward the back. Slight drop. Angle it toward the back. Rotate the mirror just a little bit more so I can see. Where's the guideline at over here? Here it is. Go against the grain. Let's just touch up the bottom. Make sure it's all even. Okay. The hard line's not as, it's not as noticeable, but I still see where it is. Okay. So now we can go in and do one of two things. I could go in and put in the next guideline. Okay, well, yeah, next guideline first, and then I could either put in the third guideline after, or instead of putting in the third guideline, which is the number 2 guard, I could probably just go back in and fade in the first hard line. So I could go 1 open here, followed by 1.5 open here, and then close the lever with the 1.5 guard, and then fade. Or I could go 1.5, I'm sorry, 1, 1.5, and then 2, and then go back and fade, right? So there's 2 different options that you guys can choose from, right? I always like to do guideline, fade, guideline, fade, guideline, fade. I just think the haircuts come out a little bit nicer when I do it like that, instead of putting all the guidelines in first and then fading everything afterwards. So I always go guideline, fade, guideline, fade, guideline, fade, all right? That's just the way that I think works best, but for some people, putting in all the guidelines first gives them a good visual representation of where they should be going for the next steps with the self haircut. All right, so now let's put on the 1.5 guard. Let's go 1.5. Okay, so now I've got the 1.5 guard on. The lever is open completely, and I'm just going to be going up about 1 inch from the previous guideline. So if you can see right here is where the hard line is. I'm just going to stop probably around up here-ish. So just going up a full inch, trying to follow the same exact design that I have for the first guideline, okay? So I'm just going up 1 inch from the guideline all the way around my head. So let's rotate this back just a tiny bit. And let's see. Lever's open. All right. Alright, let's brush some of this down. Rotate the mirror a little bit. Let's continue. I'm going to stretch out my skin using my left hand over here. Remember, I'm going up a full inch from the previous guideline. All right, a full inch. All right, so let me show you real quick where we're at. So you can see the first hard line is right in here. Second hard line is right up here. All right, it's very faint because my hair was a similar length going into the haircut, but I still see that the hard line is right in here and then right in here. Okay. So now what I can do, well, first let me do the left side and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. So let me brush off the hair. All right, let's go left side. Same exact thing, going up a full inch, right? Just make sure that it's level on the right side as it is on the left side. Okay. Let's go slightly down. Following that guideline, right? I'm just going an inch above it. Following the same shape of the guideline. How's that look? Yeah, you can see the first hard line's like right about here. Second is up here. Okay. So now what I can go in and do, and let's see if this works with these guards. Let's fix this. I can go in and keep the 1.5 guard on my clippers and just close the lever, all right? So the guideline was with the lever open To fade it, I'm just gonna close the lever and let's see if this gets rid of the line completely, okay? It should do it, but let's just see if I need to tell you guys or show you guys the extra tip just in case it doesn't go away completely. So let's do this. All right. So what I'm gonna do now is, you see where the hard line is right in here? I'm just gonna start from underneath the hard line. I'm gonna go into the hard line, right? I'm gonna go slightly past it, and then I'm gonna flick away from my head, all right? So I'm gonna go from underneath, I'm gonna hit the hard line, go a little bit further, and then flick away from my head, all right? The flick out motion, right? Go into it, hit the line a little bit further, and then flick away, all right? And I'm gonna do that going all throughout the hard line. So let's see how it goes. All right, I'm gonna stretch out my skin as well, because it expands the surface area of where I'm gonna be cutting, making it easier and less risky to cut anything that I don't wanna cut. All right, here's the hard line. Slightly past it, and a flick out. You can hear all the little clicks. It's a little bit of the hair that's getting cut. All right, notice I'm going over the same spot multiple times just to make sure that it's all going away. All right, take your time, take your time. All right, let me brush just to make sure it looks okay. I can move on. Looks good, let's move on. Let's keep it going. Okay. Stretch out the skin. Let's hit at the line. Right in here. All right, you can definitely hear the hairs getting cut right there. Let's do the back. How's that look? Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let me touch up the back a tiny bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Cool. Let's jump over to the left side now and do the same exact thing. All right, notice how I'm just being patient, you guys. I'm just taking my time. I'm going through the hard line multiple times. All right, I'm running the clippers through the guideline, right? Not just stopping at it and then flicking away. I'm going through it, right? I'm going above it slightly, but I'm also flicking out. You know, it's like a nice C motion, right? I'm giving it the C motion, right? If this is the hard line, I'm giving it the C motion, just like this, right? The C motion. So I'm going slightly above it and then away. Slightly above it and then away, right? Give it the C motion. All right, the C hard line is right in here. Get the ear out the way. rotate the mirror. Let's see, start on the back. All right, this is where the practice is going to come in handy. All right, going through the motions. All right, remember how I teach you guys how to practice with the clippers off? This motion is going to help you a lot when you're practicing. I got hair in here. That's why it sounds like that. Let me fix that. Hold on. Let me brush off the clippers, brush off the guards. There we go. All right. Okay. Okay, looks good. All right, so now I've just done what? I did the first guideline with the 1 open. I did the second guideline with the 1.5 open, and then I faded in the first hard line with the 1.5 closed. All right. Opa, let me not break my guard. So now let me just clean up a tiny bit here. Let's push all the hair off of my shirt. Let's clean off the vanity. All right, I'm using the neck duster. Remember, just sweeping everything inside my sink. All right, let's brush off the bulk from the clipper. So I start off the next section with a clean clipper. All right, now let's grab our number 2 guard right in here. So we're grabbing the 2, we're putting the lever open, all right? So now we have the number 2 guard with the lever open, all right? And this should be the final guard that we use for this haircut. And then I can just go in and use some thinning shears to blend it a little bit more to the existing length right now. All right, so let's go in, let's go up about 1 inch. Let's go up about 1 inch again. So from right here is where the current hard line is. I'm gonna go up to about right in here, all right? Right in here. And then we're gonna just follow that again, going all the way around my head. Let's do it. All right. Try and do a little bit of a flick out when you get to the 1 inch. So go up 1 whole inch and then a slight flick out when you get there. And this will just make the top hard line a tiny bit softer. So it's easier when you go in and fade it. All right, let's speed it up a little bit. Run through the same spot multiple times. Make sure that I hit everything. I didn't miss any hairs. All right. Let me just clean this before I go to the next part. All right, stop right there. Notice how I'm holding the clippers, right? Pencil shape, pencil. All right. Run through it one more time. Make sure I didn't miss any hair. Okay. Let's clean off the clippers. Clean off my shirt. Sweep everything into the sink. Okay. Now let's push this out the way. All right. And then let's go up. We're right here. Right here. Perfect. Rotate the mirror a little bit. Okay. Going up an inch, following the pattern. Connect it to the back. And let's go through the guideline. Again, just make sure I hit everything. All right. So there's a very slight hard line over here. I'm hoping the 2 closed will get rid of it, but let's see if I need to use the 1.5 open again. So let's clean the clippers. All right. This could be the final step with the clippers, but let's see if it works using the 2 closed to knock out the rest, this last hard line. Well, not last, but second to last hard line. Right, this one right in here. Let's see if we can knock this one out right here. All right, both of them are in the same spot, even on both sides. Cool. Let's sweep here. Make sure nothing's hitting the floor. Always cleaning. All right. Let's fix the mirror. Rotate it out a little bit. So I'm going to keep the number 2 guard on my clipper, but I'm just going to go in and close the lever now. And so let's see if the 2 guard lever closed removes this hard line entirely, or if I need to go back and use the 1.5 guard lever open and finish off the hard line. So let's see if this works. All right, let's stretch out the skin a little bit. All right, let's go through the hard line. C motion. The C motion. The motion of the C. Let me see something. Okay, how does that look? What do I have, like a pimple over here? That's nice. Nice. That's exactly what I want. All right, let's keep it going. Let's finish off and see how it looks afterwards. Rotate the mirror a little bit. All right, let's finish off the back. It's very slight, right? I'm only cutting a very small amount of hair. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Okay, let's clean this off. Wipe off the clippers, and let's sweep everything inside the sink. Okay, so again, let's hit this hard line right in here with the 2 lever closed. All right, shoot the back. All right, so it looks like there's still a bit of a hard line over here, but I'm gonna do all of it again. So let's go in. The 2 guard lever closed didn't completely get rid of the hard line, right? Not completely. So what I'm gonna do now is do what I've been telling you guys, right? If you want to get rid of the hard line completely, you can do this. And if you, for some reason it's still there, you can use the thinning shears technique that I use. So let's try this first. And if that doesn't work, I'll use the thinning shears. All right, so let's go back to the 1.5 guard. All right, remember our second guideline was with the 1.5 guard lever open, and that gave us this hard line here. So let's just go back to the same guard and lever position that I used to put in the hard line to get rid of the hard line. So let's see if this works. All right, let's give it a shot. So let's do the same motion, all right? Same motion. All right. Remember, we're not trying to put in a new hard line, all right? So just hit at the hard line, all right? Flick out right at the hard line. Don't try and go up too far. Okay, that side looks pretty good. Let's go left side. This side looks a little bit worse for some reason. Let's see how it goes. Let's see. Rotate the mirror a little bit. Let's see, how's the back? The back is pretty solid, but the side looks a little bit wonky. Yeah, the back looks good, but the side needs a little bit more. Alright, so that right there is pretty solid, not bad. A few spots I can hit with maybe the thinning shears. So let's move forward. Doesn't look too bad overall. Let's clean my clippers real quick, right? Always dusting them off with the neck duster here. Get the hair out of the blades. Let's push this all in here. Let's clean my hands. All right, clean my hands. Clean my shirt. Push everything into the sink. All right. So now, let's just fix the top here. Let's push all this toward the center so I don't cut here. Now, if you guys wanted to, you could use the duck clips, all right? You could use the duck clips to go ahead and create your part line and then comb everything toward the center of your head and then section it off, right? You just clamp everything down with the duck clips so that way you don't, by any chance cut the length on top if you don't want to. But since we're using thinning shears, you shouldn't have any issues with that because, they only cut like 30% of the hair anyway. So this is how you use thinning shears, and this is how I use thinning shears, all right? So what I do is I like to use the part of the comb that has a bigger gap. Notice how this is the more like fine side, and this is the less fine side. So the gap between each bristle here is bigger over here, and it's more thin over here, right? There's less of a gap. So I like to use the side with the bigger gap. Just find that it's a little bit easier. And what I like to do is start from underneath, and then I'll gradually just go up and then start cutting as I slowly go up with the comb. So I'm very, very minutely going up. Notice how I'm slowly going up, and I'm just cutting as I go up. All right. So I can comb this a little bit out the way. Right there. I'm just going to go in again. Slowly just move the comb up your head and then cut as you go up. Okay? So I'm going to grab more hair, and then just very slowly just cut, right? You don't have to worry too much. The thinning shears aren't gonna mess up your hair. They don't cut up too much. They don't cut too much. They're basically like safety scissors, and they do a really good job of blending, right? I love these things. So again, just slowly grabbing hair and slowly pushing, going upward and cutting at the same time. All right, so it's all one motion, right? So I'm going up with the comb and up with the thinning shears, right? One motion. One motion. All right, and look how blended it looks right there, right? Much nicer than it was before. Let's go back part here, right in there. All right, let's cut a little bit of that on top. Nice. Okay. Looks good, right? Look how much nicer this part looks now. And it took, what, 30 seconds? It was super easy, like little to no energy or exertion on my body to get this done. It's super, thinning shears are so amazing when it comes to blending, right? Now, this is obviously a bit of an awkward angle, so I have my left arm wrapped around my head, and this is why practicing is good. Because you need to have the comb like this and make sure that the comb is actually even, and I'm not pulling the hair up like this or like this, right? I'm going straight up against the grain with the way that the hair grows, okay? So I'm always going against the grain, and then I'm slowly going up as I cut, right? Slowly going up as I cut. All right, and let's move it out the way so we make sure we did a good job. All right, perfect. So then let's hit this area right in here. So same thing, and then let's slowly cut as we slowly go up our head. All right, same thing. Hit the same spot again. Okay, let's do it one more time right in here. Okay, now let me rotate the mirror a little bit more. Pull it out more so I can have more room to see. And then I can grab right in here. And then slowly cut as I go up. All right, that looks good. Let's see right here a little bit more. Okay. And that should be fine for the back right here. Let's do it right here. And let's do the left side now. So let's comb this over. So here, there's a much more defined hard line. So let's see how we get rid of that now. So now I'm just going to use the front mirror for the very front part. Same thing, go nice and slow. All right. Slowly go up with the comb as you cut with the scissor. All right, let's see how that looks. Looks good. All right, let's go up again. Okay, go further back. Slowly cut as we slowly go up my head. rotate the mirror. Okay. Let's hit right here one more time. Okay, so now let's rotate the comb so I can do the back. Let's reach around with our right hand over here. Let's find the hard line and let's start cutting the longer length. All right. Find the hard line. Slowly go up as we cut. Okay, same thing. Just double check the back. So now I can just shake everything off and then double check, make sure I did a good job. Everything looks good. Let's push everything in the center. Just double check. Yeah, looks good. No more massive hard line, right? Looks nice. Okay. So there's still a few spots now. So now is where I would like to detail just a little bit, right? Like you could get away with this haircut right now. I mean, obviously without, I still have to do the line up in my beard and whatnot, but the actual haircut itself is pretty solid. Let me just go in, do a little bit of detailing to make it look slightly nicer, right? And then we can move on to the lineup. All right, so now what I like to do, let's brush my head real fast. All right. So what I like to do is take my thinning shears and I hold them backwards, right? So instead of holding them normally where your pinky is in the pinky rest right here, I like to flip them and then wear them like this or hold them like this. Let me wipe them off. And so what I like to do is use the bottom blade here and I kind of guide myself wherever I see a bit of a hard line. I just attack right at the hard line and literally just the very tip of the thinning shear is cutting the hair, right? This little tiny tip right in here is all I'm using to cut the hair, right? So I'm guiding it with the bottom and I'm cutting with the top, right? And I'm just going wherever I see a little bit of a hard line, I'm just going in and I'm nicking at that spot and hopefully it gets rid of the hard line completely, all right? So let's just go in, take a look, see what I can find. And then this shouldn't take too long, right? It should be relatively quick. Okay. Let's brush it off. Right in here a little bit. Okay. Okay, looks okay, right side. All right, let's see the left side here. Rotate my mirror. A few spots over here. Okay, I'm just guiding my thinning shear, going up, going underneath the line, and then hitting the line. All right, let's go corner here. How does it look? Okay, looks pretty good. Let's brush myself off again, and we can move on to the next part. So that's pretty much the actual fade itself. Well, the actual haircut, yeah. Not so much of a fade, but more of a haircut. Is just grab my trimmers and line myself up. So let's I guess style my hair. Let's push this over to the side. Let's style this just a little bit, get it out of my forehead. Alrighty. Okay, cool. Let's brush that and that. Come on. Stay up, stay up. All right. That should be fine. Cool. So now I can just go in with my trimmer, give myself a nice lineup, and then I can do my beard. Yeah, these hairs don't want to go in. They don't want to go. They're just stuck. They just want to keep falling down. That's all right. It is what it is. All right, so let's grab my trimmer now. Let's grab my trimmer. All right, and I'm just gonna go in, straighten up this vertical line right in here. Then do this C cup around here. I'll even flick out a little bit of the hairs by my beard, and then I'll go around my ear, and then I'll go all the way around, do the bottom, do around my neck, right? Just following the natural contour that you can already kind of see, right in here, and then do the same thing on the left side. So let's see what we got, and let's get to it. So let's push this out the way. Alright, that's it. Just tap, get all the loose baby hairs out. Right? I'm just tapping. I'm not trying to push my hairline back. I'm just tapping. Alright, I'm just tapping. You see that? Yeah, that's okay. And right in here. Okay, let's go around the ear. Okay, pull the ear forward. Follow the natural curve. All right. Let's follow the line. Make sure your body is positioned correctly. All right, so you're not angled weird. Now let's go against the grain here. Okay. Let's just brush all this off. How's this around the ear? Let's touch this up a little bit. Missed a little bit of hair here. Cool. So how's that line look? A little bit crooked. Let's fix that. All right, so now let's pull the mirror out a little bit more. Let's do the back. Brush all this down. Brush the blades on the trimmer. Sweep everything inside. All right. So I'm just gonna kind of sit a little bit on my vanity, rotate the mirror a little bit more, and let's see what we can do. I'm gonna start from the center, work my way over, right? And I'm gonna get really, really close. I'm gonna hold the trimmers with my thumb almost against the cutting blade, right? Right in here. Opa. There we go. All right, all that excess hair. And I just push it all down. How does that look? Let's clean that off. Okay, looks pretty good. Right. Yeah. Now I can jump over to the left side. Do my left vertical line right in here. Just make a little bit, and that's it. All right, you're just straightening it out. Okay. Looks good. Let's go over here. All right. Looks good. Cool. Let's go around the ear. Let's brush this down real quick. Pull the ear down. Let's get all this. Okay. Brush all that down, and let's follow the line. Let's brush it off, and let's finish off at the bottom. Okay, let's touch it here a little bit more. All right, let's go. All right, now let's start again from the center and work our way over to the left. Okay. All right. How does that look? Let me just use my mirror and make sure that the line is perfectly straight, all right? That's what it looks like now. Let's see if it's straight. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, looks pretty good. Right, yeah, looks solid. All right. Cool, so that is the haircut. So now all I need to do is just go in and clean up my beard. All right, now my hairs are a little bit better. They're working with me a little bit more. There we go. Some of these front ones are still a little bit loose, flying away. All right. But otherwise, you guys, that's the actual haircut itself. So that's the beginner haircut. Using the 1 guard, followed by the 1.5 guard, and then the 2 guard, right? For the guidelines, the lever is always open. And then I went in and closed the lever to remove the hard line. And then remember, I had to go back for the hard line over here with the 1.5 open again, right? Go back to the same guard and lever position you used to put in the hard line, and it did a pretty solid job. And then I just finished everything off using the thinning shears upside down and just pinpointing any hard spots within the fade and just nicking at them. So now I'm just gonna go in and edge up the beard, right? I'm just gonna go in with the trimmers, edge up the beard, and then I'll go off camera and do my eyebrows and mustache and whatnot, because I have a separate video for you guys for that stuff. So this isn't really as important. The main part is the actual haircut, right? That's what you're here for, to figure out how to do this part. This part, easy, right? This is separate. So let me just go ahead, trim up the upper portion and the lower portion of my beard, and then I'll let you guys go. All right, let's keep it simple for you. Let's just learn the haircut. All right, and then the beard doesn't need to be faded, right? It matches the color, so we're good on that. No beard fade needed. Okay, so now let's go in. Let's clean off my trimmer. Let's touch up the top line first. All right, so same exact thing as going around with my neck. I'm just following the natural line that is my beard, right? Notice how I've got these hairs right up here, but the line is right here, right? The line is right here, but I got all these hairs over here. So I'm just gonna cut all those loose extra hairs flying away from the actual line, all right? So let's first go like this, going up. Blow some air into your cheeks, All right. Now let's go this way here. And let's hold the trimmers going upside down. And let's go down and push the line just like we do with the line up. All right, let's guide the line. How's that look? Pretty good. Okay. Now let's do the same thing on the left side. The line is right here. So let's get all this excess hair up here. Okay, now let's follow the line. Make sure you don't hit your mustache. Okay, looks good. All right, solid. Now I can just go in and following the same direction as the upper line, I'm gonna mimic on the bottom line, right? We wanna make sure that the top line and the bottom line run parallel with each other, okay? So now my goal is to try and make that possible. Let's do it. All right, so let's see here. Let's start in the middle, going right above my Adam's apple. Right, about right. So if I'm looking at myself in the mirror dead on, straight from my chin, right about here. All right. Is debulk everything first, and then we'll straighten up the line. Right, notice how I'm changing the direction that I'm cutting, so I'm always going against the grain. Right, recognize the direction your hairs grow. Right, these hairs are growing up right here, and then away over here, and then up right here. Like 3 different directions. So all the bulk is basically removed. Now let's clean off the trimmer. clean off my shirt. Push anything on the vanity inside the sink so nothing falls on the floor. Let's get that out the way. Okay, so now I've got a rough draft. All right, got the front part of the line done. Let's just connect it toward the back, following the same shape as the top line. All right. Where's my brush? All right. I can probably go a little bit higher on my Adam's apple. Let's go a little bit higher over here. All right. Looks good. So now, let's even it out on this side here. I need to go decent ways up. Okay. How's that look? Good. Looks good. Yeah. Okay. And so all I need to do now, which I'll do off camera, is just clean up my eyebrows. I'll straighten out my mustache, and that's it. You know, another like five or so minutes, 5-10 minutes to do the eyebrows, do the mustache. We're good. Otherwise, you guys, that's it. Let me show you the 360. Let me just make sure it looks solid on my end here. I didn't miss anything. Let's try and style this a little bit better. All right. And that looks good. That's your beginner haircut right there. All right, let me show you the final product here. All right, let's rotate the camera here. so we can do this. All right, ready? Let's get this up a little bit. Cool. So this is the front. All right, front. Let's go left. All right, the lineup looks pretty solid. Looks good. Let's go to the back. Am I centered? Good. This is the back side. Okay, let's go right side now. All right, so now you guys can see the close-up. Right, this is the right side. Right, blended really nicely into the hair on top using the thinning shears. Right, the lineup looks nice and clean. Right, following the direction on the top and the bottom. Right, it's parallel. The fade, the beard is blended into the fade. Let's go left side. Right, same thing with the beard. Okay, and then the back, I'll get a little bit closer. Alrighty. So that is, you guys, the very beginner self haircut. Right? Obviously, there's easier haircuts that you can do that are even more easier, right? With less steps. But this is a more beginner self haircut. For most people, if you're just starting out, a really solid haircut to give yourself because it's not that difficult, right? Give yourself about an hour to 2 hours to do it. Again, it was only 3 guards, so I literally only used 3 guards throughout this entire self haircut. I'm just cleaning them real quick so I can show you guys. I'll just run through it one more time, just so you can kind of briefly sum everything up, all right? So the first guideline was 1 guard lever open, right? 1 guard lever open. And then I went for the second guideline, 1.5 guard lever open, going up 1 inch. And the third guideline was with the number 2 guard lever open, going up another 1 inch, all right? Now to fade in this hard line, I just used the 1.5 guard lever closed to fade in the middle line. And then I used for the other hard line up here, the 2 lever closed, and that didn't get rid of it completely. So I went back to the 1.5 guard lever open, right, which was the same as the second guideline. And I went up and I knocked out the majority of it. And then to do some detail work, I had my thinning shears held upside down, just using the tips of the thinning shear to nick at any parts where I saw a hard line, right? And then of course I used the thinning shears to blend in the longer hair on top to the fade, right? Going slow and cutting at the same time, right? Moving the comb up along with the thinning shears, going nice and slow. And then lastly, I used the trimmer here to clean up my hairline, going the vertical bar, the C cup, around my ear, and then of course the neck and the back, and then followed by the beard. So that's it, you guys. I hope you guys learned quite a bit from this self haircut. Again, give yourself like 1 to 2 hours, at least 2 hours, I'll say. Just, you know, book at least 2 hours for yourself. Make sure you've got the lights on, nice and bright, 5K LED. Make sure you got the mirror set up right. Anything else? that should be it. Hope you guys enjoyed today's self haircut. I think it turned out pretty solid, right? A very beginner self haircut. Easier haircuts that you could give yourself is like a, just a simple buzz cut and then a lineup. So instead of doing all that, maybe you could have just done a number 2 guard buzz cut all the way around and then used your trimmers just to line yourself up. And then that haircut would have probably taken like 30 minutes, if not less, like 20 minutes. So there's a lot easier beginner self haircuts, but this is a more beginner fade version of a self haircut. So hope you guys learned something, and let me know in the Discord if you have any questions.